Here's what happened, guys. An easy trap to fall into as a small business owner is to think that shortcuts don't have a cost. Every single shortcut has some cost, and majority of the time, that cost is damaging to your soul. And I talked about it before here on the show that to do what is right over what is easy and convenient wins every single time in the long term. And discipline is an important requirement for a principal to have in order to be able to do what is right in your gut, because you're going against a big wave of distractions that are out there in our society and a lot of vices that are out there in our society. One is easy access to getting into massive amounts of debt in order to continue to fuel the potential of this vision that you have for the business. And there are a lot of people that will try to take advantage of that situation. And there are business owners out there that will put out fake promises of shortcuts of saying this is how you can make it easier or more convenient for your business. And in the end, if you've been in the game long enough as a business owner, you will get burned at some point with a fake promise. And that is what with this movement, we have to push back against, and to be able to share with you the truth that all shortcuts have a cost. And it's important to not damage your soul in the process, because damaging your soul doesn't just affect the business, but it affects all areas of your life. And similarly, when you have this value of and principle, when you have the principle of discipline in your life, and make it a habit, an important value in your life, that has more impact than just in your business. So welcome back to the show. Let's get into it on this Thursday to talk about discipline, how it impacts more than just business. And what I want to share with you are some different ideas and strategies that you can implement to get to the root cause of your problems as a small business owner. And that could be this desire to want to get there faster and figure out the shortcuts in order to make that happen. But there has been so much over the generations short-term thinking that has created long-term messes that someone's going to have to clean up. And that is why with this movement, it is a movement to make America's future a small business renaissance. And it's a movement to stop kicking it down the road for these messes. And it's time to clean up these messes. And so with understanding the truth, and as Jesus said, the truth will set you free, we have to understand the truth of the society that we live in. And we live in a credit-centric renter's economy for society. Future generations have the livelihood and the future of younger people has been intergenerationally stolen from them. And one of those ways that has happened is this hidden tax of inflation. The purchasing power of the dollar today is worth around half of the value of a dollar back in 2000. Then when it comes to average home prices, it was back in the early 1980s, it was 3 times the median income. Today, for the average home price, it's 7 times the median income. So the reality is it's much harder to achieve the American dream. And that is due to a lot of short-term thinking that has created a lot of big messes. And so when it comes to discipline, you are going against what a lot of people, how a lot of people live their lives, which is undisciplined. And that can create, for being undisciplined, a lot of pain, some of which you may be experiencing with trying to achieve the vision that you have for your business. And what can that do? Well, it can strain your relationships. It can make it very stressful in your day-to-day life. You can feel like you have a weight on your chest each and every day. And that's something I want you to avoid. We all have our struggles that we're dealing with. But if we can focus on this value of discipline more and celebrate that more in our society and set the example as small business owners, then I believe overall it can help with the overall quality of life of our country and improving that. But let me share with you, I'm going to get up here the our debt clock so we understand what's going on here. Okay, the U.S. Our national debt is over $39 trillion. That's a reality. And that comes back to the lack of discipline with budgeting, balancing the budget. And then we can get into go down some other roads of trying to take advantage of us, the American people, when it comes to how money is spent And we can look towards when it comes to the influx or the increase in the money supply as adding more to the debt. These are just some issues that we have to continue to address. And as small business owners, this is in your control. You have people that are there supposed to take care of you as elected officials and make your life better. And right now, that we're seeing that that's not the case. That there's a lot of corruption in this system. And with any system, it can get corrupted and taken advantage of over time. But as small business owners, I believe America's future leaders are small business owners, and so we have to also realize that we have control here, and that's really important. We have an impact here, we have control here, and then we also have control in our own lives and what we do. We have will. It goes back to the hierarchy for the soul, which is you have the logos going back to thinking. Then we have the will, ethos. And so we have the will to take action. And then we have pathos, the passion, the emotions that also with all three of these, with the hierarchy, a lot of times we could start with passion and the emotions and sometimes not logically think, are we making the right decision? And that's where we can make plenty of mistakes along the way that we have to avoid. Because again, with this habit, at the beginning, it's difficult to implement discipline if you've been undisciplined in a lot of different areas for the vision. You feel like you're bouncing all over the place. And so what it's important to remember are 3 phases of the habit formation process. And this takes time, and it's not just going to happen overnight. But the first phase is the awkward phase. With any new habit, it will feel awkward to the body, will feel awkward to your day-to-day life and your schedule. And at times that can lead into frustration, which then could lead into the second phase of the habit formation process, which is anger. There will be anger that is felt with any new habit. This is a resistance that can come up like you're hitting an imaginary wall. What we talked about yesterday with who we're protecting our soul from, the demons can come out and play here. This is where we have the billions of demons here in our world that can come in and influence us with thoughts. If that is thoughts of, you can just rest today, it's okay. Or thoughts of you're not going to be able to make this happen and get out of this challenge that you're dealing with or problem. That's one way. And then the anger, it can build with each day. And this is where it's important to just continue to push through. And then you eventually get into the autopilot phase. And it's different for how long it takes for each person. But with the autopilot phase, the best habit as an example to relate it to is brushing your teeth. You've been doing that for so long that at times there's not a lot of friction that's there for you to each morning and night go and brush your teeth. And the goal is to get the habit to that level. And it's absolutely possible. And it may take it will take longer than you think, but it also in that same moment, you can realize just how much progress how fast you can make progress with these habits. But there will be the ups and downs along the way. And so knowing those 3 phases of the habit formation process has a massive impact in staying consistent with the habit of discipline. Now, when you are disciplined, what you are doing is you're creating predictability and trust. You are creating consistency, and I've talked about it before here on the show, and the importance of honoring your word and making sure you don't overpromise, but you do the best that you can to create these small wins that can stack up over time to then create the big wins. Small wins lead to the big ones. And so predictability and trust is very important to create that within your life. Because then you can ripple that out into the other areas, if that's your relationships to the business. And then if you then become known as that person who can be trusted and is predictable when it comes to how you're going to navigate deals or how you're going to build or how you're going to be in relationship with people you care about or the people you're serving through your products and services, then that's going to have a massive ripple effect in other people's lives, and they're going to be wanting to support you more, and you're going to then feel like you matter. And it's important to remember you do matter. You can make an impact in the lives of others and in your own life. And discipline is at the core It can get to the core issues and address those issues that you're dealing with through any problem, how that could look like. If that's money problems, to just showing up and if it's working out consistently, to getting your work tasks done or doing the boring tasks that you don't really want to do and you have to push through it. We all have our own struggles, and in some way, you're not alone in what you've experienced, and it's really important to remember that. So the other part of our society we got to be aware of is then debt overall, personal debt. And so debt is becoming up a lot, and it can be experienced in business and a lot across over 1,000 industries. So we gotta understand what the problem is and see it for what it is. So this was back in the last quarter of last year. Household debt balances reached over $18 trillion. Okay. So if debt's an area that you're struggling with right now, you're not alone. And it's not to be an excuse that you can't make a change here, but it's going to be hard. You're going against what how a lot of people are living their life. And that can be motivation to differentiate yourself and to show that you are a leader in your community, leader for your family, and leader for your life. Again, this doesn't happen overnight, and those shortcuts, there will be a cost, and it is absolutely not worth damaging your soul, because your soul is eternal, as we talked about yesterday, and it's important to protect your soul. And by reminding yourself that this isn't just it for life, and that God is watching you, it can help you to then have the will to go and do what is right over what is easy and convenient. And what will happen is, by doing what is right, it can create some pain. Potentially at times a lot of pain. It's where you can have the really hard conversations of telling either your girlfriend or your wife the financial situation right now, and that you feel guilt and shame because of it, but that you are focused on on having discipline be a habit moving forward and to get out of this situation. That's a hard conversation. It's going to give you peace, but it may not be a peaceful conversation. Or having a hard conversation with team members in your business and not just letting them walk all over you, and actually now saying, hey, I need you to step it up here and continue to raise the standard. And I need to figure out ways that I should lead by example and raise the standard in business, and how we're continuing to support the people that we genuinely care about, that we're serving through our products and services. So with discipline, it's important that can build predictability and trust. And one way that you can do this is starting small with any habit that you're wanting to be disciplined at. If that is the habit financially, with your finances, to checking your bank accounts every day to check into where you're at, to working out consistently every day. By starting small, you can then build momentum faster over time as you're continuing to put the reps in and build consistency. Because I said, small wins, they lead to the big wins. And what can be helpful as a way to start for a new habit is to create 14 days, a 14-day plan where you are going to be you're going to be able to give yourselves 2 days where you can miss this habit. So 2 days in a 14-week span to be consistent. And what this will help with, and how you can think it's around, around 10% of the days you're giving yourself some flexibility here, where you're going to show up for the 14 days. You're 100% committed to this, but then you also realize that there's going to be life happens. Things that can be in the immediate moment, outside of what you expected, can occur, that can throw things off. And so you have a safety net, and I believe in a safety net, but not something that turns into cabana. So with the safety net for your habits, you will have some days where you can take off. And this can help you to get back on faster for your habit of being consistent. But discipline is so important to hold on to as a value and as a principle. It's something we got to continue to fight for in this country and celebrate in this country, is discipline and reward discipline for the incentives. And we can notice how there are a lot of shortcuts, and there's a lot of incentives out there that are shrouded in evilness. Fraud is one of those, and we were seeing a lot of stories coming out about fraud. And we have to, as small business owners, unite and shape the future and change the direction that we're headed into as a society. Because I want to live in a society where we value discipline, we value doing the right thing over what is easy and convenient. And the more of us that rally behind this, of uniting and also wanting to make sure we live in a society that by doing what is right over what is easy and convenient, is going to protect our soul. It's going to win every single time, and we get to celebrate that. And we cannot give in to those evil forces that are out there. And like I said, this movement is about the people versus the Epstein class. And when we remember this worldview, the powerful and the rest of us, and that there are those evil forces that are out there, we, by recognizing that and also recognizing that we have immense amounts of potential and opportunity here in this country and individual rights that we cannot take for granted, like our freedom of speech and the ability to own our small business, and to realize we can fight for what is beautiful, good, and true in this country. When we can hold both of those, of the potential and the realities that we live in, and then be able to move forward, that is a powerful force. And it gives me a lot of excitement for what the future could be like. And it's important to remember, you don't just have to adapt to the future as a small business owner, you can shape it. So if you are a small business owner who wants to connect with other small business owners that care about this country in person, then you can join us for A Future Fest. This is how you can register at afuturefest.com. It's happening January 14th, 15th, 2027 in Charleston, South Carolina. The plan is to have over 300 small business owners from across the industries and across the country coming together to exchange ideas and strategies, and then to be able to have conversations about shaping the future and helping to continue to make America's future a small business renaissance. So I'm really excited about the event, and then I will see you guys tomorrow.